episode of the Atlas Airguns Podcast, we talk to returning guest Richard from Season 1, Episode 4. Richard details his past life hunting for 6 years in the Florida Everglades, including a scary run-in with an alligator, his new airguns, and how to prevent heat stroke.
So I thought I'd have you back on. It's been like a year and a half. And I don't know, I wanted to talk about hunting because you have a lot more hunting experience than I first realized. So I thought we could talk about your exploration on hunting, but I think you should tell the audience about the fact that you had like 6 years of just hunting and nothing else. So what led you into 6 years of hunting and playing in the wilderness with nothing else to do?
I guess I can say I was born and raised in Miami, and just started getting boring for me. I've always done a lot of fishing and stuff like that, and that got a little boring. I've always loved shooting. Um, I hooked up with a friend, a coworker, ex-coworker that was into hunting, and we went duck hunting. We went hog hunting down in Florida. We got into the gator hunting. We did the dove hunting down there. I would have to say that the dove hunting and the duck hunting are my favorite. They're more action packed than pretty much anything else I've ever done. And I got the bug. And up here in Georgia, I haven't been able to find any place to actually do any hunting where I've found anything. Christy and I have tried to go squirrel hunting a few years, and man, we've always gotten skunked. Haven't even seen them. I saw one maybe 100 something yards away, and by the time we got there, it smoked us. We couldn't find hide nor hair of that thing.
I always have the worst luck hunting, and that's primarily what I do for shooting, but I go out and I'm lucky if I catch something like one every three times that I go out. I usually don't see anything. It's just quiet. And I like to walk in stalks. I don't like to sit down and just sit there for 10 hours. It's really boring for me. And I'm sure I'm just too loud. Like the whole wilderness gets woken up and I don't find anything. But sometimes I get stuff. So for 6 years, that's what you did. You just hunted like crazy every day.
Yeah, hunted and fished and went out there and shot. And now the big thing to shoot out there in the Everglades or out there in Miami is the iguanas. Everybody's shooting them and talking about the iguanas. When I was down there, I would shoot the occasional iguana when I saw it. Now I've gone back to visit family, and they've become a pestilence.
Yeah. So did you ever get any ticks or anything like that when you'd go out on these long walks?
My family calls me Tick Man. Um, I've gotten ticks here cutting grass that's 2 inches long. I've gotten ticks here. I got picked up a tick here about a week and a half ago, working in my backyard, cutting some grass.
And it bit into you?
No, luckily that one hadn't bit into me. I just felt something when I went to scratch. I felt the little lump, and when I looked, it was crawling. The last time I got bit, we were trying to purchase a house, and we never went through with that purchase because the builder wasn't a good builder, so we backed out of it. But point in case was, it was a large property. It had a stream out at the back of the property. My father-in-law and I decided to go back there and do a little investigating, check out the stream. We came back, didn't know anything. On the way back, my father-in-law was like, man, I feel something's crawling on me, but I can't see anything. Of course, I'm a little dark-skinned. And I felt it too, and I was like, man, I don't see anything. I feel stuff crawling on me too. I don't see anything. Maybe it's just our imagination. Came home, took my clothes off, threw it in the washer, Um, about 11:30 at night, my father-in-law sends me a picture. He says, "I think I've discovered what's crawling on us." So he sends me a picture and he zooms it in. He says, "I don't know what this bug is." So when he sends it to me, I looked at it and I immediately freaked out. It was a little seed tick. They're about the size of a poppy seed,
Oh,
and they're very,
they're red,
very
right?
light. No, they're like a light brown.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
matches the skin tone perfectly. And
It's a
so
racist tick.
I immediately started running. I ran into the bathroom, got naked. I start looking, and I start to hold my arm up to the light, and I could see them. I was covered in them. So my wife went in there, and she started picking them off me. And then my father-in-law says, "Hey, man, I feel these things crawling all over me." So when I walk into his room, because he was up here visiting, my father-in-law's butt naked on the bed. I had to start I had to start picking ticks off of him with a pair of tweezers.
That's like some form of punishment for marrying his daughter, you know?
Oh my God, I saw parts of my father-in-law nobody should ever see. Um, but yeah, I counted over 100 ticks. I stopped counting at about 101, 102 ticks, and I still picked another 30, 40 ticks off of him. My wife had been picking ticks off of me for about a half hour. And when I came back up, she just continued picking little tiny ticks off of me.
Eeks. So, south in Miami area, like the Everglades, is there a lot of ticks down there?
I never picked up any.
Yeah. Okay, so I picked up my first tick ever. I've had one on me before in California, but I was filming out here in the dunes, and I had to walk through the dunes where the grass is. And like 3 weeks later, flash forward, I'm like taking a shower, and I see this like weird like thing of skin. Right? I'm like, oh, it's like a little skin tab or something like that. And I look at it, I'm like, that's a very concentric shape. Like, there's no way that's a skin tab. Like, oh, it's a tick. And I had to take a tweezer and rip it out of my body. I was so mad. And it's very violating. Like, it's not like a mosquito, just like, man, you stuck your head in me. Like, that's all kinds of messed up.
Man, you feel so dirty after that. It's not, I'm not going to kid. I have some medical grade wipes that I work at a hospital. When COVID all happened and everything, they gave us some medical grade wipes to take home. And we're not supposed to use them for your skin or anything. They're just to wipe down surfaces, disinfect. And I'm not going to lie to you, man. I wiped myself with that thing because I just felt so disgusting. I felt so dirty. It's like you said, violated.
Yeah. They're like the rapists of bugs, you know? So you mostly hunted in the Everglades?
Yes, we did the gator hunting down there. We did the duck hunting down there in the Everglades in the STAs. Um, we did the hog hunting in the Holy Lands. That's out there at the Broward West Palm Beach County line on US 27. Um, that's out there in the Everglades as well. And dove hunting, we did dove hunting on a couple farms down there. That was Kendall, Homestead area. That for dove season they would set up, and for a fee you could go down there and hunt.
And this was all with powder burners.
Yes, yes,
So
all powder burners.
now do you primarily do air guns when you do take out a squirrel or anything like that?
Yes, yes. The armadillos here, the squirrels, the starlings, and the English sparrows that I get here in my yard. It's all air gun. I live in a small community. My yard butts up to a huge park with three lakes, and I don't want to shoot anything that's loud, or I don't want to have the cops called on me. Although the other day I shot, I tried shooting a Hades out of the Air Force Condor SS that I have there in 177, and I had to put it away really, really quick because that thing went super, supersonic. It sounded like I shot off a 223 in my backyard.
Yeah, they're loud. Like I had a Talon P, and that thing was the loudest gun. I loved it, but I actually when David at Black Arts gave me that Brokaw Concept Light as a gift, I I wanted to give something in return, so I gave David my Talon P, and he actually regifted it to Eric at Black Arts. But that thing was so loud. I still love it. It's a great gun, but it's one of the loudest guns out there, especially with the short. It's like a 12-inch Lothar Walther barrel, but super, super loud. So Florida, you kind of wish that you were down there still for hunting?
For hunting, yes, because I knew since I was born and raised on there, and we just moved up here, for about 4.5 years ago. Um, I knew all the places I could go hunting for what I knew. Um, I'm sure there were other places you could go hunting as well, but in my area that I was aware of that I knew all the places I could go hunting and have no issues at all. Up here, another thing down there, it was easier to find people that would take you hunting than up here. Up here, it's like a hush hush secret society, Illuminati thing to find somebody that wants to take you hunting. Nobody wants to tell you anything. The closest I got is go to the forests, go to the state forests.
Yeah, and state
That's all I was
forests are
told.
never as good as like a permission. Though that said, there's some permissions I'll see on Facebook groups here in Florida, like, oh, hog hunting, and they have a picture of a bunch of hogs, and they're literally in like a cage. So it's like you're just shooting farm raised animals. Essentially, it's like that's not hunting. So
You're
just
shooting
don't.
fish in a barrel.
Exactly, it's so bad. Sometimes I don't see it too often, but I will see it like once a week where I'm like, okay, it's either a joke or I think they're serious though, but it's pretty bad. Did you ever get into any weird situations like scary? I'm kind of on this theme right now, but like weird hunting stories where you got spooked or something bad happened out in the Everglades?
Um, yeah, I was hunting with my buddy, the one that I had told you about, and he took out a friend of his that had never been hunting, and we were duck hunting, and we knew there were gators out there. We would get out there at 1 in the morning to be able to get a good spot because a lot of people would go out there as well. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:15, the warden opens the gates. You get to pick the spot that you want because you'd already scouted it. So we go out there. We're dragging the water through. I'm talking chest deep water that's pitch black out there in the Everglades. Um, the first time I did that was kind of creepy. After that, it was like, let's go. I was all into it. But that one time that we took his friend, um, when you go duck hunting, it's got its highs and its lows because the ducks fly by in bands. So somebody shoots off in the distance, they spook the ducks somewhere else. Somebody shoots at them, they spook them somewhere else. So they're constantly flying in all kinds of different directions. So we had shot at a band and we didn't see anything for a few minutes. So my friend Kenny says, "Hey, I'm gonna go get the ducks that fell in on the backside of the island we were fishing on. Take Max and show him what we do for the ducks that fall far away." So I told Max, "Okay, stay 10, 15 feet behind me. I'll toss the ducks back to you as I get to them, and then you just toss them back. And then as we walk forward back, we just grab them and pick them up and walk out." So when I get to the furthest duck, mind you, like I said, I'm in about belly button deep water. I look down in the water and the duck is sitting over this dark spot. And I'm like, man, that's a log. No, that's a gator. No, that's a log. That's a gator. You're playing this mind game with yourself. I have my shotgun over here, my shoulder, and I'm like, man, that's a gator. I look, I don't see any trails through the weeds in the water. It's a log. And I looked down. I didn't see any bubbles, no movement, nothing. Dude, I took half a step forward and I reached for the damn duck and the gator went woof. I freaked out. I leaned back and I shot. And when I shot, the shotgun blast kicks me further back and I fall in the water for a couple seconds. So I'm underwater, and I'm trying to pick myself up, and I'm wearing these rubber waders that come up to here, and they're full of water.
Right. So all
So
that
when I
extra
get,
weight.
yes, so when I get up, the waders are like this, and I've got my shotgun, and I'm freaking out. It was just a couple seconds, but I swear to you, it felt like I was down there for 3 minutes. Just the mind functions so fast. Um, and when I finally get up and I look, I see the gator. He's just there, belly up. I guess I'd shot him in his mouth. And I turn around and I say, Max. And when I turn around and I say Max, which was the guy that was behind me, Max looked like he was skipping on top of the water, yelling, Kenny! Kenny! Yelling for the other guy that was on the backside of the island. That was the only scary story that I can say. We have seen big snakes out there, big pythons on the weed mats. And as we've gotten closer to see if we could shoot them, they just slither off into the water and they disappear. I had one pop up in the water in front of me, maybe about 2.5 inches thick, just pop up in the water as I was dragging a boat one morning. And I looked at it and I was like, oh crap. And just in that instant, it ducked down and it took off.
So they can stay submerged the whole time?
Yes, they can stay submerged for a long time. We had another time that we went out there to a different area with my buddy and his cousin. His cousin is an excellent hunter. He moved out to his name is Nick Doy. He moved out to Texas now. But man, Nick would nail these ducks that you're talking about were 70 yards up in the air. They'd be flying way up there, way out of range. I don't know how he would do it, but he would knock them out. Well, we went out there one time on his boat and we shoot and we shoot and we shoot and we pick up a few ducks and we shoot and we shoot and we shoot and we pick up a few ducks. And when we shot our limit, we figured we had 7 or 8 ducks because each one of us would keep track of the total ducks. So that way we made sure we didn't go over our limit because down there you have a limit of 6 ducks per day per hunter. So we take the boat and we start picking them up. And as we go, we only pick up 2. We're like, man, how many ducks did you think were out there? Oh, I thought there were 6. How about you, Kenny? How many did you think? Oh, I thought there were 6. Yeah, me too. So we look around, couldn't see the ducks. So we're like, man, what happened? We figured they got washed away with the water. So we had a weed line behind us. We went, we looked, we couldn't find them. We start talking about maybe a gator or something taking them, but the gators take them. You can see them when they take them on top of the water. And so we shoot the 4 ducks that we thought. We let them fall. We go pick up. We're missing 2 ducks again. We're like, damn, we know we shot 4 ducks. We look around, couldn't find them. Shoot a duck, go pick it up. Shoot another duck, go pick it up. Get in the boat, we start picking up our decoys. As we come around the corner, there was a big ass otter leaning back on a tree stump with a freaking duck in his hand, just munching away. The damn otter had stolen all our ducks. He had all the ducks on the land next to him.
Were you able to recover them?
Oh, we didn't want them. They were all chewed up and bitten up.
Crazy. So the gator that you killed, were you able to take it to eat?
No. That's considered poaching. What I did do was I told the warden when I got out to the gate that we were going to check out. I told the warden, hey, look, this and this and this happened. I told him exactly where it was. We went back the next day. The gator was gone. Don't know if the warden picked it up or if the gator just had a really bad headache and took off. But I think there was a good chance that the wardens picked it up.
Yeah, it's considered self-defense, right? If it's going
Yeah.
going at you. So
Yes. Yes.
that's a crazy story. How far was it away from you?
Dude, it must have been about 3 feet.
Yeah, that's insane. How big was it?
Uh, don't know.
Yeah.
Don't
You're
know.
just freaked out too much.
Don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll tell you what. It was a lot bigger than I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Every time someone dies every year from a gator, I think it's always South Carolina. It's always some lady walking their dog, old lady, and the dog is getting attacked by a gator. The old lady tries to defend the dog, and then the old lady dies. And then the
Well,
dog,
we had somebody down in Miami a few years ago that was a jogger that she was dragged into the water by a gator.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was Dade or Broward County.
yeah. It's always and the weird thing about gators and crocodiles too is they study your patterns. So if you run or do anything, let's say walk a dog or run or walk by the water, they're actually kind of memorize the time that you're there. And then the
Yeah, they learn
next
your
day,
routine.
yeah, they're learning your routine. Then the next day they show up and kind of hang out there if you're sized up proportionally that they can take you out. And that's one of the weird things about gators and crocodiles is they're one of the very few species, like polar bears also, one of the very few species that were actively hunt a human being. It's like most of the time though, gators are pretty scared of people. I think crocodiles are much worse, but I think I'm pretty afraid of alligators and crocodiles. So, but I still want to hunt them, but they're exceptionally hard to get a tag for.
Yeah. The few times that I went out there, I got lucky because, like I said, it was myself, my buddy, and his cousin, and we would each put in for permits. We would each put in for tag, and when you get a tag, you can take two people with you, and you don't get one tag, you get two tags. So sometimes all three of us picked up a tag. Sometimes one of us picked up a tag. Sometimes two of us picked up a tag. Sometimes none of us picked up a tag.
But your averages were higher because you're hunting together.
Correct. Yeah, I would even put my daughter, my youngest daughter. I have pictures somewhere on a hard drive of her on like an 11-foot gator that we killed. She's there like this with her foot on the gator. She was 8 at that time. 8, 9. Yeah, I'd say maybe 9 or 10 years old when I took her.
So the
That we
law
got that gator.
the law for air guns has been passed where you can hunt them now. It has to be arrow or bolt shooting air gun, and I think it has to have a tethered line, kind of in the tradition of the treble hook method that you used, where you'd hook it on. I think they don't want the gator to sink down in the water, but I definitely want to do that. It's a whole feat in itself. Like that, I'm getting a BRK Ghost, and I'm thinking of machining a special barrel for it because it'd be kind of a fun project to do.
Well, you let me know, man. Um, my brother-in-law's down there and he likes the hunting, and I took him gator hunting, and he'll apply for permits. I'll apply for permits down there from up here. I have a lifetime hunting license in for Florida, and you can as well. See who picks up a permit.
Yeah. So you have armadillos in your backyard?
Yes, I've taken a few.
Yeah, and what's the most successful gun that you've used to take them out?
Um, I would have to say my Oregon Compact in 22. My Oregon Compact in 22. I've plugged a few of them with the Hades.
And where do you hit an armadillo?
Um, you got to hit it center mass. Wherever you hit it, you got to hit it center mass, because if you hit it on a rounded surface, it's going to ricochet. Armadillos are known to ruin the side of your car if you hit them with your car.
Yeah. I just was
Um,
talking to a guy earlier that he said his wife deliberately tried to hit one on their property and it jumped up, went inside his radiator and completely like ruined the front of his car.
it's pretty much like hitting a bowling ball, man. Um, but just hit them center mass. Just It's almost like hunting a deer. You want to go for that shoulder, right behind the shoulder shot. The armadillo is the same thing. You want to hit them just behind the shoulder, a little up, and you'll hit all the vitals there.
Yeah,
You can hit the
I
heart, the
can see what you're
lungs,
talking about. Like if there's a flat surface, like if the pellet's coming along, it'll deflect off the top, so you want to hit it
center mass.
center mass.
Correct.
Yeah, we have a ton of them in my backyard, and there's some months or some weeks that I'll see a bunch of holes. And when I first moved here, I was kind of doing the whole detective thing. I was like, Detective Roberts on a mission to try to find the killer. I was finding all these holes, and I was like, what is this? Like, is this a deer? Like, this doesn't make sense. And there's all these holes all over the place, and they're kind of occurring where the ant hills were. And I was thinking, what is doing this? And all of a sudden it dawned on me one night when I was watching an armadillo pass the street. I was like, oh, it said armadillo. Detective Roberts solved the case. But we have all kinds of animals in my backyard. We even have like sea otters that come up into the pond here. So they go pond to pond, and like my neighbor caught them late at night running on his infrared lens like across his property, but a whole family of sea otters. I'm like, what the heck are these sea otters doing in the pond?
Oh, that would be awesome. Let's see. Here in my yard, I've got all kinds of songbirds. I got squirrels. We have snakes. I have lakes that are maybe about 75 yards. Um, Closest one is, I would have to say, about 75 yards. But I can see three lakes from my house, from my backyard. We've got turtles, we've got snapping turtles, we have deer, we have hawks, we have rabbits, a couple chipmunks. Don't see them too much. Um, Snakes, we have garter snakes, we have rat snakes. My neighbor found a rattlesnake under her garbage can a couple weeks ago. Trying to think what else. I know the only thing I can say is if things ever go south, I'm not gonna go hungry.
Yeah, I always think about that. I'm like, I live in a pretty abundant area. And like the news lately, I keep watching the news. I'm like, okay, the BRIC standard or whatever that China's signing on with Russia, they've got like 35 countries on board, and I think Germany's even requested to join. And once that happens, all that money is going to be liquidated, the U.S. petrodollar. And I'm thinking, man, what is that going to do? Our current inflation's bad enough, but imagine like astronomical inflation. And I keep thinking, well, at the end of the day, it's okay because I have sea otters going through my backyard.
I don't know about eating a sea otter, but you know what, man? If push came to shove,
Yeah. The animals I've usually hunted are like turkey here in Florida, though I can't do that unless it's an arrow or bolt shooting air gun. So again, that's the BRK Ghost project that I'm going to endeavor on. But turkey in California and squirrels and quail, and that's kind of what I've always gone after. But here I have the potential now to do gators, turkey, deer, and hogs. So I'm going to get a 30
duck.
cal.
You
Well,
got
I'm
duck.
talking air gun.
Oh, okay.
So like I'm going to get a 30 cal barrel kit with the 22 that I bought so I can do hog hunting, and I'm pretty excited about that because there's definitely there's properties out here that I've talked to people. They're like, oh, you can come and hunt hogs like anytime because they just hate them. So I'd love to do that.
Damn, brother, hook a brother up. I got a Oregon 30 there that's got your name on it.
Yeah. You got a beer a Brocock what is sniper?
Yeah, and a 177. I bought it
Yeah.
from my buddy at Atlas Airguns.
So let's hear about your experience with that gun. That I when I got that in, Christian was the one that recommended you buy that gun, and when I got it in,
Yes.
I test shot it just to make sure the accuracy was there, and it shot so accurately. And I just had thrown on a bug buster to test it, and it was at like 40 yards, and it was a very small group. And I told the Christian like, I don't know, it might be just an extra special barrel, but it was. I hate the term, but it was a very small group. I won't say dime size, but I just said it. But it was a very small group. And what's your ammo that you've been using? What kind of accuracy are you getting?
I'm shooting the JSB heavies, and man, that's phenomenal. I don't know if you hand selected that, if I just got the luck of the draw with that, but that thing is pinpoint accurate.
I didn't hand select it. You just got the luck of the draw. But when I shot it, I was like, oh, and I had to use a bug buster. That's not like a high tier scope or anything like that. So I was like, oh, I'm not that good of a shot. But yeah, it was really, really good.
It's
Um,
accurate, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Here at I've got 50 yards at the bottom of my hill. My house is up on top of a hill. My property, I mean, I don't have an immense property, but I've got a straight 50-yard uh, line of sight where I can shoot. And at 50 yards, I'm getting just a hair under dime sized uh, groups
you
with
guys see
five
dime
shots.
size again and again and again because that's like the marketing right now in the air gun community. Dime size, dime size.
Okay,
Um,
let's say
say
I would
quarter
say
size. You got to change
just
it up a
just
little bit.
um, I would say just a hair under a half inch,
Yeah.
just a little bit under a half inch group at 50 yards.
I have this idea for a video. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
Because I just tired of hearing you talk. No, I'm just kidding. I want
Hey
to go
man, my
out.
name's not Roger. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I uh I want to go out to this like beach or some very big area. I'm giving away my whole video idea, but whatever. I want to put a box out in the distance and with a target on it, and I want to like go out on the beach and lay down and film myself shoot this box at like 300 yards. I want to get a dime size group. Now the whole thing is there's not going to be a gun there. Like I'm going to be shooting like there's not going to actually be a gun. I'll put like a censored over it, and I'll be like, oh, this is new gun for 2023. And at the end of the video, the like sensor will like fade away, and it'll just be me faking it. Like I
With
won't
the
even have.
stick,
Yeah,
with
maybe,
a
or
piece
just
of
nothing. I
driftwood.
think it'd be better if it's actually nothing at all. But yeah, drift would be great, like shaped like a gun, maybe like screwed together or something. But and then what I'll do is I'll go over to the target and I'll like pencil in a fake hole, like maybe a single hole at 300 yards or something like that. And then what I'll do is I'll manipulate it so I'll have the scope cam face there, filming it. I'll shake it around on Premiere Pro so it looks like it's getting some recoil, and I'll do the math on the distance that way that the pellet gets there at the right time. I'll do all of that. It'll be the ultimate spoof video.
Oh my God, that video sounds familiar.
And then at the end of it, I'll reveal the fact that there's actually no gun there, and then maybe I'll use that as a time. I've gotten really tired of the dime size, dime size, dime size, and like I'll shoot a group sometimes that's larger, right? So act like a real life group in like 12 mile per hour wind at 100 yards, and I'll have someone say, "Well, I can do better with my Marauder," and it's like, okay, go for it. 100 yards, 12 mile per hour wind. If you can shoot better group, that's awesome, but I'm not going to fudge it. Like if I get a gun and I shoot 100 yards and it's a normal group, let's say,
Yeah,
that's that
2 inch group or
yeah, it is what it is. And
whatever it
like
is.
I'm not a pro shooter, so I'm not expecting my groups to be, dime size. And I think the thing for me too on competitions is even the pro shooters don't do dime size on EBR EBR targets or any of these other targets. If you compile all the groups together, it's like I think the marketing is kind of, I've said it a few times now, but the small groups at 100 or 200 or 300 yards. That's the new FPS. So like it used to be that you'd go to Walmart and you see 1400 FPS, but now they've used that same kind of marketing idea, but with the smallness of the group, the size of the group, with high-end air guns. And I think at some point the airgun community's got to reel it back a little bit. But that said, that the irony being this whole discussion's on the back end of talking about how we got dime-sized groups with that brocock sniper. So I know the irony's there, but yeah.
But okay, yeah, the groups are smaller, just a little bit smaller than a half inch. But I'm very happy with it, man.
That
I've got a
Uragan that you brought to Georgia Airguns that we shot, that thing was very accurate.
That's the one I take the armadillos out with.
Yeah.
I also have a 30, and I recently, after I got the Sahara from you, I recently acquired another air gun. I got a 177 Uragan compact. Bought it on the forum from Black Paw. That thing is shooting the JSB knockouts. I get about 900, 8 feet per second, and it is lights out.
The
I
nice
had a
thing
little
about
issue with it.
the
I had a little,
Uragans is they look really good in the compact.
yeah, I had a little issues with it, a couple issues with it when I first got it, but it just needed a good cleaning, just a good cleaning of the barrel. Cleaned the barrel very well, and I also had to put some adjustable scope rings on it because it was shooting low. But man, that thing is lights out. I've got 35 yards. No, I'd say I've got about 30 yards from my sniper position here on the second floor down to where I've got my squirrel target and my little target, and I've got the spinner, the little spinners. I got about 30 yards. I apologize, and smack them down. The sparrows don't know what's hitting them. When I hit them, I hit a couple of sparrows with that the other day. I go for headshots, and man, all you hear is pop when the slug hits them. You go over there, and the bird's missing the head completely. So that's also a nice gun. I get starlings here. I get We also have some things here that look similar. The females look similar to the English sparrows, but you got to be careful. They're called house finches. It's a completely different species. So, before I load a pellet in, I make sure that I look at them through the scope so I can identify them properly.
What kind of scope do you use?
I have a few. I have a couple bug busters. I have a bug buster on my Leshy, and I have a bug buster on that 177 on that damn, on my SS, my Air Force Condor, but mostly I use the Hawks. The best one I have is a 4-16 wide angle first focal plane, and I have that on my 30.
Yeah. Is that the one you brought to Georgia Airguns that time?
Did I take a 30? I don't remember if I took the 30.
You brought the compact.
Yeah, I brought just the compact, but it was a Hawk.
Yeah, I'm using the Aztec right now. I like it. The thing is, like, there's a lot of scopes out there that I like I really want the Integrix. That's not out yet, but I was just looking at the ATN yesterday because what's his name was talking about that, Jeremiah. And then I really like the King Cobra. I actually have one, so that's why I like it, because I looked through it and I was like, wow, this is really, really good for the price point. Um, But the Aztec works really well for filming for me because I've got it dialed in. So I'm just going to keep that because it's like really hard for me to get good film. And once I got that, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep it.
Whatever works.
Yeah. So you come into EBR this year?
Yes, most definitely going. I've been wanting to go for a couple years, and one thing or another, I haven't been able to go. Last year, I was purchasing that property that I stated, which is where we got covered in ticks. But that never went through, and I wasn't able to. But this year, for sure, I'm going.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fun, especially if we all like got the same house or something like that. But last year I felt bad. I was at the house with Christian. I like barely saw Christian because I was running around like a madman the whole time. But maybe this year we can. I don't know. The thing I didn't like about the one house we stayed at too is the pool was freezing, like absolutely freezing. So the first night I actually dived in because I had like jet lag. I was like, oh, I get my like muscles all relaxed and stuff like that. And I jumped in and it was freezing. And Nathan Davidson's like, oh, that looks nice. And he like put his foot in. He's like, oh, hell no, I'm not getting in that. And then Roger had a pool too, but I don't think he used it. He was in a different house, but he was like, I think he like took a video in a pool or something like that. And I'm sure he just did it for the Instagram because I'm sure it was cold because it was covered the rest of the time. So I want a house that has a warm jacuzzi. That's my goal.
I don't know, man. I'll go into jacuzzi by myself, but I don't know about going into a jacuzzi with 3 or 4 guys.
At the end of the day at EBR, I think it's really nice to have some kind of. I went in the pool, I think, every night because it's just something to like. You get tired and you go through like a gallon of water easily. I don't know how many gallons of water they have to supply, but it's a lot. Like you see just boatloads of water in a huge cooler, and they have a big fan that's like 10 feet high by 10 feet, and it's blowing the like constantly. And you see people run up to and just sit in front of it for 5 minutes to cool down.
No, it's
And
probably a big ass fan.
yeah, it is. Yeah, big ass
The
fan.
brand. No,
Exactly.
I'm talking about the brand. Big ass fan. There's a
Oh.
brand out there. It's called Big Ass Fan. Those things are excellent. I'm trying to get one here for our bedroom. My wife is like, "You're crazy. We're gonna
Like
freeze."
the whole wall.
No, it goes on the ceiling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a huge. I mean, it's massive and definitely big ass, like 10 by 10. It's huge. Anyway, it might be 8 by 8, but whatever it is, it's large. But people will go there and just sit in front of it, and then they'll drink like 3 or 4 bottles of water all at once.
No, that's crazy, man. You got to put a pinch of salt in it, and if you can, just a drop of lemon juice. Lemon juice just to replace some of the electrolytes. I work at a hospital. I work at a lab, and I see it all the time. I see people that go there that are completely dehydrated, and you can tell that they've had a lot of fluid because the urine is clear. But when we analyze it, you see that all their electrolytes are have plummeted. So you got to go out there, put a pinch of salt, and if you can, just a drop of lemon, just to replace some of those electrolytes. And
What do you do at the hospital again?
I work at a lab. I work at the lab.
Okay, so you're doing
I'm
like
the smart one. I'm the one that tells the doctor what's wrong with you. They
you're
just take
doing
all the
like the
credit.
blood pathology kind of stuff, or just the test?
I'm not a pathologist. I'm what's called a generalist. So I'm a microbiologist. I'm a chemist. I'm a hematologist. I'm a blood banker. All of those in one.
Yeah, yeah. That's why you got the glasses on, very suiting. So, what's
Yeah.
your best recommendation for people shooting in dry conditions? Is that add salt and add a little lemon?
Just a pinch. Just just a couple grains of salt, and just a little drop of lemon. They sell you these packets. We have them downstairs. They're pretty cheap. You get them on Amazon. It's called real lime or real lemon, something like that. It's not that bottled stuff that you get that's concentrated and then reconstituted. Um, they're like little packets. They look like little sugar packets. One little packet of that stuff tastes or has as much lemon as a wedge of lemon or lime, whichever one you prefer. You could put half of that and just a couple grains of salt. That'll help you replace a lot of electrolytes. You'll function faster. Your brain functions faster. You'll be able to see better. Just the body functions better when it's hydrated than just pumping water, pumping water. Yeah, you're replacing a lot of the water, but you're not replacing the important stuff, which is the electrolytes.
Yeah. Did you ever run into dehydration down in South Florida?
Oh, I've had dehydration. I've had years ago. I used to work installing insulation for a company, and that's actually owned by Bear Paints. And I was up in an attic. We were putting in what's called blown-in insulation, which isn't the bats, it's not the rolls, it's shredded fiberglass insulation. It's in a machine, and I started having heat fatigue, and I caught it. I went downstairs. I had a Gatorade, rested a few minutes. I went up, and I guess it was just so hot, man. I started having heat stroke. My body just almost shut down. Everything was so, how can I say this? Everything just felt so heavy. I just felt so drained. I had to pretty much crawl back to the opening of the attic and yell for the guy that was down at the bottom, because you do that in tandem. There's one person at the bottom that's feeding the machine that's blowing the insulation up to you, and then you're the one up top that's blowing the insulation, or vice versa. Um, and the guy came, took his time to get up there, shut the machine down. By the time he got up there, man, I thought I was gonna fall out of the attic.
That's
That
crazy.
was uh,
I hate anything in the attic insulation wise. I've seen those machines. It's like the inverse, like vacuum. So the guy's feeding it constantly and it's blowing it
yeah,
through. It's kind of fun to watch it go through the line. But the last few houses my dad and I built before I moved out here, we had blown in insulation, and it's hot. It's really hot. And then a lot of those guys who are going up in older houses and like adding new insulation after 10 years, 15 years, when it starts to compress.
settle.
So yeah, so it's already hot up there. It's already insulated. So it's like an oven. And I don't know how you guys do that. It's insanely hot.
Yeah,
It,
you just have to hydrate before and just keep on top of it, keep on top of it. But it just, that one year, man, that one time, I got down to the bottom when I finally made it down out of the attic. Um, my blood pressure was low. I could feel my blood pressure was low. Everything just felt. Um, I was in a complete daze. I couldn't get a steady thought. It's like I was like in this. I want to say like everything was just a slur in my mind. Everything was just hazy. Everything was foggy. It was difficult to pick up. It was difficult to pick up the cup in which the guy was pouring the Gatorade for me. That's how fatigued I was. And it was just like that.
there was we were building this house once in Atascadero, California. 3 houses actually, but we were building one of these and doing hardy plank siding, and it was like 110 degrees out. It was crazy hot and very dry heat. The sun was on all of us, and it was just way too hot. And the side of the house, obviously, the sun would hit the house, hit the hardy plank, and radiate heat off of that as well. So it wasn't just the ambient temperature of 110. Here's also the concrete on the side of the house. So it must have been on that side like 116, 117, something crazy. And one of our employees cut his thumb off. I think he just cutting. And I think he got fatigued, basically cut his thumb off. They had to go like reattach it at the hospital. And then we basically had to pay for his for like the next 5 months for him to chill because he couldn't work anywhere. And luckily his thumb was functional, but he got it. I saw him like a year and a half later, and his thumb was totally fine. But yeah, he had basically cut it off or cut a significant portion of it off. I think it was hanging there, but it was
With the circular saw?
circular saw. He just he kept cutting, and it was, when you're cutting hardy plank, you get in a rhythm and you just are going fast, especially since you're doing different, you're just kind of working down the whole way. And anyway, it was way too fast. And yeah, I think of the speed and the monotony of the same kind of cuts, and the fact that it was so hot, he just lost his senses and cut his thumb.
Yeah, it happens, man. It happens. Yeah, you go to heat stroke and like nothing. When you're working and you feel that, you start feeling heavy and sluggish, stop, take 5, 10, 15 minutes, take a break, take a breather. If you can, go to a cool area. If you can go back into the air conditioning, go back into the air conditioning. You got to bring your temperature down.
Imagine doing that too while you're hunting. Like if you get fatigue out in the middle of nowhere. There's a few times I've been out here in the forest and I always bring water with me, but it gets so hot. And I've thought about that before, like if there's no one else, because a lot of times I'm by myself, and that's the sketchy thing. I think if you're by yourself hunting and you get like heat stroke or something like that, you could be in loads of trouble because you have no one there to be like give you water or anything like that.
Well, I'm not a survivalist, man. And I'm not going to say that I'm a prepper either. But when I go out there, when I've gone out with Christian, when I've gone out by myself, when I would go out there to the Everglades, I always have a backpack and it's got a little bit of everything. Uh, Always carry some paracord. I always carry a life straw. If I got to drink water from the Everglades, I'll drink water from the Everglades, but it's filtered, you know. Um, I got a fire starter. I have an actual magnesium rod and a striker. You never know. I
Yeah, I could
have,
just see you using the life straw on a alligator just biting your head.
listen, man, I can tell you that I saw a video on Instagram. I don't know if I sent it to you this morning or not. Um, and it said that if you can't see through the water, don't jump in. And somebody takes and they tossed a rock into the water. And the second that rock hit the water, it must have been like a 14-foot crocodile just goes, whoa, just came out the water. So no, if I can't see, I'm not going near it.
How did you see that one in the middle of the night, or was it early morning?
No, that was already daytime. The sun had
Okay,
already come up.
so
You
that's how
can,
you saw it.
yeah, the gates open up at 4:15. The warden, lets you choose. You go out there and they tell you just to say, hey, you can't shoot till 5:58. First shot at 5:58. So you have from 4:15 that they open the gate till 5:58 to get to where you got to go. Set your decoys out and you're blind. And they'll tell you got to be back in by 1 o'clock or by 12 o'clock
Yeah.
because they need uh, the second group of hunters to come in.
Here, the tributaries are like covered by a lot of trees, and the trees lose their leaves, and the tannins in the leaves leach out into the water. So the water will get so dark, it's kind of like the black water kind of thing that you'd see in the northern territory of Australia. So it's really, really dark water. So it's like perfect like grounds for an alligator. Like you can look into the water and it's just pitch black, like really, really dark. I've always thought that like there could be a gator right there. So I don't let my kids go to the water around here because it's so dark that there could be a gator right there and you wouldn't see it.
Um, we've we've gone when we lived down in Miami. We went up to a campground in Jupiter. It's called Jonathan Dickinson Park. It's really nice. You can go canoeing. There's a part where you literally have to get out and pull the canoe through. You're talking about 3, 4 feet of water, but the river bottlenecks, so the current in that section is so strong that you have to get out and pull your canoe through. And I know what you're talking about. The water was rusty red. It looks reddish orange. It's just dark color. And you're talking 3 or 4 feet. I can just imagine where the water's 8 feet, or where, there's more tannins in the water and it's super dark. No, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a area here that people kayak down the street. And the first time I came here with my father before I lived here, my dad's like, "Oh, is this a great place to kayak?" He asked the guy, and he's a fisherman, and he's like, "I would never kayak on this river because I've seen some massive gators back there." And there's kayaking tours all the time that drop tourists off there, and I always think, I wonder, they must know, and they just don't tell the tourists like, "Oh yeah, there's some big gators," but a big 14-footer or something like that, it would be pretty sketch on a kayak. I don't think they would do anything, but um, just definitely, I wouldn't want to see that in a kayak. I think that was what the fisherman was saying, that it just you want a bigger boat.
Well, hell yeah, it's like I'm sure it's like the T-shirt says, the tourist T-shirt you pick up in the tourist gift shops, the alligator. It says, "Send more tourists. The last ones were delicious."
They need to have that for Californians. Send more Californians. The last one was delicious. I
Have you
don't
seen
meet.
the Have you seen that video on YouTube where the guy's on one of those paddle kayaks, and I guess he was fishing and he had a line on a bottle. The bottle's floating. So I guess he thought he had a catfish, and he's pulling it up and pulling it up and pulling it up. And his little girl is there with him, his daughter. And he's pulling it up. And when he pulls it up, all you see is like this huge gator jaw just come up slowly. And the little girl says, "Mommy!" Mom was nowhere there. Of course, he dropped it, he put it down, and he started paddling and getting out of there. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're nuts. Man, well, I think this has been an eventful podcast episode. I think I need to let you go so you can go take more armadillos. But thank you for coming on again. I'll have to have you on probably next year.
No problem, brother. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure being on here. Thank you for inviting me.
We gotta do a hog hunt. That's on the docket.
Let me know. I've got a Condor in 25 there that I'm pretty sure shoots some badass slugs, and I've got that Oregon in 30. If in case Christian needs anything, because he says he's starting to thin out the herd. He wants to keep his HW30 sub 15.
He's all about the 7 foot-pounds.
He's got one that goes down to 5.5 foot-pounds.
It's like, you do live in America. You can shoot higher power. He was selling the Prophet. I'm like, you should just keep it for EBR. And he's like, I have no use for it. I'm like, okay, well, it's like your most powerful gun and you're getting rid of it. That's it. I think the next gun he should get would be a
Slingshot?
like a Nerf gun. Hit the squirrel with a Nerf. Can he hit it? Can he kill it with a Nerf?
I don't know, man. His son might take it from him because his son likes the Nerf. His son is into all that Nerf stuff.
Then.
There you go.
Yeah, drown the squirrel.
We'll get him a bug assault.
Yeah, sub quarter foot pound or whatever. All right, Richard, I'll let you go. You have a good day.
Take it easy, Tristan. You too, brother.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Atlas Airguns Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and visit www.atlasairguns.com to buy from our shop.